Coming up, MTV Movies is joined by Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, and Taika Waititi.
They had like real texture tongues. It was like kind of the first thing I was curious about. Is that weird?
This is in the sky, this is in clouds. It needs to look a little bit fake.
I'm as proud of his ass as he is.
Hello and welcome to MTV Movies with me, Hannah Flint, and joining us this episode, the great, the wonderful Terrell Charles.
Hello.
I'm so excited because now I feel like I'm not the biggest nerd on the seat now. You taking over.
100%. MTV made the mistake of putting two nerds in a room to talk about a Marvel movie, so we'll see how that goes. But before we start, I should say this movie special will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you have been warned.
Yes, warning, warning.
Now, first up, Hannah met the stars of Thor, Love and Thunder, and here's how it went.
Oh, we're looking in. Are you looking at my DVDs?
Yeah.
There you go. There is somewhere, but I've done them in colour-coded order.
That's all right. I'm not insulted at all.
Oh my God, you look so much like Cher from Clueless. I love it. It's Cher and Dion. This is perfect.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
it.
you got it.
So a lot of superhero movies lead into the grittier real-world landscape. This feels very Masters of the Universe, Flash Gordon. Now, is the intention now just make it as flamboyantly fake-looking as possible to really lean into that aesthetic?
Yeah, like a lot of that first world that he's on, it's, we want it to feel like a spray-painted panel van on Venice Beach, there's like 3 moons and a couple of suns and a Saturn and like all of these sorts of like just fantastical like art inspired landscapes and stuff. And I think it wouldn't be a Thor film without all of these crazy elements that look so out of this world.
Tessa, how did you feel about the two big goats? As a goat fan yourself.
Felt so good. So I really would go. So they're like space goats. They're very big. So we couldn't use real goats, which is great. We did meet a goat actor recently. We did some press with a goat actor. But I would go and pet the goats, the like prosthetic, because they were beautiful. They're like, weren't they so good? I mean,
They had like very
done.
real texture tongues.
Yeah, they did.
Like you're touching, you'd be like, ooh.
You got familiar with the tongue.
I did get familiar. I mean, it was like kind of the first thing I was curious about. Is that weird?
Yeah. Glad we didn't have any real goats around. Can't trust you with them.
Did you imagine when you first debuted as Korg that he would become like the MVP of most of his outings now?
I didn't imagine that at first, but then after he was such a favourite of people's in that first film. Also, you've seen my films. Of course, I'm going to put myself more in my films. Like when there's an opportunity, I'm going to crowbar myself in there. Doesn't matter how hard it is, or doesn't matter how pointless it is. I will put myself in the scene or my film. I love myself.
As is your right. As is your right.
My right. I worked so
Is your
hard.
right. Okay, so let's talk about Love and Thunder. It finds us back with Thor, Mighty Thor, which is Jane Foster, Valkyrie, Korg, and all the team coming back together in their most fierce battle yet against Gorr, the God Butcher, whose name does exactly what it says on a tin. He is going around the realms and he's killing a lot of gods.
He's butchering gods.
He is butchering them, and we got main man Christian Bale. He was a goodie, now he's full on baddie in this one. So tell me what your initial thoughts. You like what I did there?
Yeah, I like that joke, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You kept it very low key.
Oh God, it's my match made in heaven.
Oh, 100%.
So tell me, what were your initial thoughts of Thor 4?
I really love this movie. I thought it was really interesting, much more of a rom-com than anything else. And honestly, I was grinning ear to ear. I was laughing. It's a Taika Waititi movie, top to bottom.
Yeah, 100%.
I was creasing for majority of it, but also on the verge of tears at the same time, because of course we're dealing with really dark subject matter. We're dealing with Jane going through cancer. Also, Thor famously loses everybody he loves in damn near every movie he's been in, and even Gorr himself, the villain. He's he's empathetic. He's someone that you really you almost care about. Yes, he's a villain. Yes, he's doing dark stuff. You don't really want him to be kidnapping children and all of that good stuff. But at the same time, you're you see where he's coming from. I connected to it. I really, really, really enjoyed this movie.
I really I think it's got the big battles that you want. It starts off with a big bang. I love the Mad Max kind of opener. I like the fact that all these weird alien people are trying to battle. So many of the kind of comic book movies you
Yeah.
see, it's all about gritty, down to earth. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is in the sky, this is in
Yeah.
clouds, these are in like fantastical worlds.
Big time.
It needs to look a little bit fake. And I think they really nailed it on that sense. So let's talk about some of the relationships here. There's a lot in it, but I think one of the things that's quite surprising was the one with Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, the famous axes. Like the way that's set up, how did you feel that how you kind of created it as this sort of exes situation?
The hammer versus the axe. I feel like that was the silliness basically that we're talking about, really. Like them floating into frame every time Thor was like trying to the other hammer.
I'm sure there's people who are going to watch this think, oh, you've made Thor into a joke. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so stupid. It's
Yeah.
dumb fun. It should be that way.
And it suits Thor's character. Like Thor is the person that kind of fights off the dark grittiness of his reality with comedy and with fun and with silliness.
Here's some more of me and the wonderful Love and Thunder cast. Chris Hemsworth, very naked. Thank you for that service.
Yeah, I know, it wasn't even a question. It was
wasn't
more
it?
just.
That's it.
Yeah, no,
No,
well,
thank you
you're
so much.
welcome. I think it was, I'm very proud of it as well. I'm as proud of his ass as he is.
Yes. That is Asgard's ass. Chris, the thing hasn't made.
I
There
got
you
the
go.
reference.
Natalie, I mean, I feel like Jane Foster, I love her so much, and she was, for me, the best parts of the 4 films.
Oh, thank you.
So was it easy for you to slip back into her and also rekindle that chemistry between yourself and Chris?
It was really fun to get to play Jane again and have the Mighty Thor as well. I thought Taika had a really good like humor about Jane in the old films too, about like how nerdy and sciencey, like everything out of her mouth was. So we definitely enjoyed playing with that again, and it was so great working with Chris again. I mean, it's so wild to have met him like 10 years ago. Now we're like 10 years later, we have like children running around playing together, and very, very fun and moving to see.
More to come from the cast shortly, and if you haven't seen our Who Knows Thor More video, you can check it out now on the MTV UK YouTube channel, and you can find out who's mightier, Natalie or Tessa.
Right.
Right.
So you spoke to the cast of Thor: Love and Thunder.
I did.
How do you think that those guys did in the movie?
Oh, how did I think? I think they did sensational.
Yeah.
I love it. This is my favorite MCU franchise. And I want to talk about Natalie first because, one, she is my idol. I love her so much.
Yeah.
I think she got massively done dirty after Dark World, and I'm not surprised she didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they really brought her back in a meaningful way that
Yeah.
really allowed her to express her talent and her diversity as an actor and her ability. Like, she can do comedy. What I loved also is that obviously there's a relationship between her and Thor, but the one that obviously built between her and Valkyrie and Tessa Thompson. What do you think of Tessa?
I love Tessa Thompson. I love the idea that Valkyrie as a character in this movie is just like almost the person that wants to protect everyone.
I love the fact that she had like created her own this kind of like multicultural style now.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously Asgardian, but now she's been human. She's been on Midgard for ages, and I love that she's clearly adopted. Obviously, she's biracial. She's black, and like for her to kind of adopt the kind of black sensibility of like clothing and like getting hairdo as well, like having her in braids. I think it really said like this is a black character. Now I don't care that she was white in the comics. This is who she is, and I want you to know she's embedded in this culture.
Well, that's it. She understands. She's come to Earth. She understands, Earth customs and how people look is important to society. It is how society is run, unfortunately. But she accepts that, and she, like you said, it's the hairstyle, it's her fashion, but also even her music choices. She very intentionally is going a lot of
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige.
Put on the Sierra.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. I was like, is this my playlist? Okay, so let's talk about the main man himself, Himbo, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
When you get casting right,
Yeah.
and you get someone who's basically had like over a decade to really make it his own, you can really feel it. And I think him and Taika had just worked brilliantly together, especially as we've seen in all like the other films that he's done outside of the world. He can do comedy.
100%.
In Ghostbusters, I know people don't like that film, but like
He did comedy.
he owned it, and he's now like the face of himboism.
No, I loved it. He's always given himbo energy with his portrayal of Thor. I really feel like Taika really understands Chris Hemsworth after working with him on Ragnarok and throughout this movie, because I think who Thor is in like the first Thor and in the Dark World is so different to who he is in Ragnarok and especially in Love and Thunder. And I would say in Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, he's so much more Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And I think that all works really well, and Taika really understands that. To get like that deep portrayal of Thor, he needed to lean into who Chris is and let Chris just have as much fun as possible. And it shakes up Thor as a character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's less of an archetypical, I'm the strong one of the team, and
Yeah.
he's much more of a deep, sensitive character.
Christian Bale, he's the main new addition.
Yes.
As Gorr. His whole story starts out because of losing his daughter, and that's
Yeah.
what turns him to the dark side.
Yeah.
How did you rate Christian Bale's performance?
Oh, bloody loved Christian Bale's performance. I genuinely really loved his performance. I think when it comes to Marvel villains, there is a tendency to lean into the archetypes of just like, I'm evil because I'm evil. See Thor, the Dark World. But with Christian Bale's performance, like you said, the movie starts, which is pretty rare, the movie starts on the villain story rather than starting on Thor's. It starts with Gorr going through his story, his backstory, sets up his motivations before anything. And then in the movie, we start getting into Thor and why Thor is the perfect contrast for him. I think Christian Bale did a great performance of being sympathetic, understanding where he comes from first, and then once he's taken over by the Necro Sword, he goes full evil, goes full maniacal, and you understand that transition, you understand that jump into where he's going. And even towards the end of his narrative, where he kind of comes back to in almost a full circle moment, Christian Bale nails it. Like when we talk about range, Christian Bale's got that range a lot.
Right, talking about people who've kind of like totally made the role their own, which is very different. I mean, Russell Crowe, I love that he's gone from Roman the gladiator to now being Zeus in the most like caricaturist way possible.
Yeah. He was incredible, and like I said, he was as powerful as his character should be, but at the same time, as silly as Russell Crowe wanted his character to be. Perfect.
Here's some more of me and the wonderful Love and Thunder cast. So you brought together a group of remarkable people to see if they could become something more. Now you've added Russell Crowe to the mix as Zeus. How much free reign did he have to create this like really bombastic version of the Greek god? Did you sit down or did you just turn up set saying, this is what I'm doing?
No, we talked about it a lot, and he actually did. He actually did two versions of that character. He did the one that's in the film. He also did one in a more sort of like classic British accent. But I found that to be too annoying, the idea of having a British accent for a Greek god. It's like,
no,
the British is so terrible.
I don't want to hear my accent anymore. Don't do it. Tessa, I love that Valkyrie has developed her own Midgard style.
Yeah.
How much control did you have over her look and her playlist?
Actually, a lot. It was so fun to collaborate with Mice Rubio, who's our incredible costume designer who also did Thor Ragnarok. And we had a lot of conversations like, what does Valkyrie look like as a king? And we were both really inspired by these images of Frida Kahlo. I'm a really big fan of Frida Kahlo, and she would wear these three-piece suits. And it also felt really perfect just because I think Frida Kahlo is an early pioneer of really challenging our ideas around gender. And we thought that was perfect since she was stepping into the title of king.
Can I ask, did you borrow the kind of the wigs of those first aliens from Tina Turner, Mad Max, Thunderdome?
Not from Tina Turner. That was actually the main guy was based on Toe Cutter, who's the bad guy in the first Mad Max, and so they were all based on the first Mad Max. And George Miller came to visit my set when we were doing that. I was showing him that footage of those things, and he was very touched that we had.
Love it. So, Easter eggs. These are for the true Thor stans out there. Did you spot anything from the comic books?
I did. So the two really interesting ones I thought, I'm sure there were plenty more, but when they are looking at all of the planets start getting like going into chaos because Gorr's been going around killing people, on the Guardian's ship on their screen, one of the planets, you can see a shot of a bunch of gods hung up on like meat hooks. And that's actually a panel from like the first issue of the Thor God of Thunder storyline.
He is a butcher, so.
He is a butcher, so we quite literally put them like in an entire little meat locker. And from that same run, from I think issue 3 of that run, you see a big giant behemoth alien creature on an ice planet. That was Falagard the behemoth. That exact image, literally shot for shot, because this was actually in the trailer too, shot for shot, beat for beat, right where the rocks were, where Thor's standing, is exactly pulled from the comics. Like, it's scary. It's like they traced it. That's all from us at MTV Movies. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts below, click subscribe, and we'll see you back here soon.
Are you okay there?
It's the angle.
Are you sure you're worthy?
No, you know what it is? It's the rings. The
Right.
friction of it is not making the right balance. You know.
I knew it. Bye.